Imagine a microscopic creature that can enter your body and start eating your brain. Sounds like a horror movie, right? But it's not. It's a reality. This is no fiction, no exaggeration. This is the chilling truth about the brain-eating amoeba. A minuscule terror that lurks in water, waiting for its next unsuspecting victim. It's a story that's both fascinating and terrifying. A grim reminder of the unseen dangers in our world. Welcome to our deep dive into the world of the brain-eating amoeba. First, let's uncover the mystery. What exactly is this brain-eating amoeba? Well, the brain-eating amoeba is a microscopic organism known to scientists as Naegleria fowleri. This single-celled amoeba is typically found in warm freshwater environments like hot springs, warm lakes, soil, and even poorly maintained or unchlorinated swimming pools. It's not something you'd come across in your daily life unless you're an avid swimmer or a scientist studying microscopic organisms. Naegleria fowleri is a free-living amoeba. What does that mean? It means it doesn't need a host to survive. It freely swims, eats, and reproduces in its natural environment. However, when conditions become unfavorable, like when the water source dries up, it forms a cyst to protect itself, waiting for conditions to improve. So how does it become a brain eater? The trouble starts when the amoeba enters a human body, typically through the nose. This usually happens when someone is swimming or diving in warm freshwater. The amoeba then travels up the nasal passage to the brain, where it starts to cause damage. Once it reaches the brain, the amoeba starts feeding on the brain tissues, causing a rare and devastating infection known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis. This is where it gets its chilling nickname, the brain-eating amoeba. Naegleria fowleri is a master of disguise. It can change its shape and form depending on its environment. This makes it challenging for our immune system to detect and fight it. Do remember, Naegleria fowleri infections are extremely rare. But when they do occur, they are usually fatal. The amoeba's destructive path through the brain causes severe neurological damage and, in most cases, death within 1 to 2 weeks. But why does it only infect humans? The truth is, we don't know. There's still a lot to learn about this deadly amoeba, and scientists are working hard to uncover its secrets. So now you know this isn't science fiction. The brain-eating amoeba is a real and deadly organism. You may wonder, how does this amoeba enter the human body and cause harm? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, yet alarmingly terrifying. The brain-eating amoeba, scientifically known as Naegleria fowleri, typically finds its way into the human body through the nose. This usually happens when people are swimming or diving in warm freshwater places like hot springs, warm lakes, rivers, and hot springs. Even water taken from these sources, when used for nasal irrigation or sinus flushes, can serve as a one-way ticket for this microscopic terror. Once inside, the amoeba starts a sinister journey. It travels up along the olfactory nerve, that's the nerve that deals with your sense of smell, and advances towards the brain. This journey is not a long one. Yet, it's the beginning of a deadly encounter. Upon reaching the brain, the amoeba begins its heinous task. It starts to consume the brain tissue, causing extensive damage. The brain, an organ critical to every aspect of our existence, becomes a feeding ground for this microscopic predator. As the amoeba feasts, it causes a condition known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, or PAM. This infection results in the swelling of the brain, leading to a range of severe neurological symptoms. These may include headache, fever, nausea, vomiting, stiff neck, seizures, hallucinations, and even coma. Unfortunately, PAM is usually fatal, with a survival rate that is alarmingly low. The speed at which this amoeba works is also distressingly quick. From the time of infection, symptoms can start to appear within 2 to 15 days. And once the symptoms begin, the disease progresses rapidly, often causing death within 1 to 12 days. So this microscopic organism, seemingly harmless in its natural habitat, becomes a deadly invader once inside the human body. Its journey, from the warm freshwaters to the human brain, is a chilling tale of how nature can sometimes turn against us in the most horrific ways. The brain. Eating amoeba's journey inside the body is a deadly one, leading to a severe infection known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis. Once the brain-eating amoeba makes its way to the brain, what happens next is truly horrifying. Let's delve into the grim details. The initial symptoms may not seem very alarming, often resembling a common flu. A person might experience fever, headache, and fatigue. These symptoms usually start to appear within 2 to 15 days after exposure. But as the infection progresses, the situation quickly escalates. As the amoeba feasts on the brain, it causes an infection known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, or PAM for short. This causes severe brain inflammation and eventually leads to brain damage. The affected individual may start to experience more severe symptoms such as hallucinations, seizures, and loss of balance. As the brain functions start to deteriorate, the individual may slip into a coma. The brain tissue swells, causing an increase in intracranial pressure. This can lead to brain herniation, a life-threatening condition where the brain is pushed out of the skull. What's more terrifying is the speed at which this all happens. From the onset of the initial symptoms to a fatal outcome, it can be a matter of just a few days. A person might go from feeling slightly under the weather to being in a life-threatening condition in less than a week. The prognosis is not promising. In most cases, the infection proves to be fatal. Even with prompt medical attention and aggressive treatment, survival rates remain dismally low. Only a handful of people worldwide have ever survived this infection. The devastation that the brain-eating amoeba leaves in its wake is unimaginable. It's an invisible predator that lurks in the waters, waiting for its next host. It invades the brain, wreaking havoc and leaving destruction in its path. So, the aftermath of an encounter with the brain-eating amoeba? It's not just a fever or a headache, it's a battle for survival, a race against time. The consequences are severe, often resulting in irreversible damage and death. As we can see, the aftermath of an encounter with the brain-eating amoeba is devastating and often fatal. Now, the question that arises now is, can we prevent this from happening? The simple answer is yes, we can. Just as it is with most health concerns, prevention is always better than cure, and the same holds true for the brain-eating amoeba. There are several precautions we can take to reduce the risk of encountering this deadly parasite. The primary mode of transmission for the brain-eating amoeba is through water entering the nose, typically when swimming in warm, freshwater bodies like lakes and hot springs. Therefore, one of the most straightforward precautions is to avoid swimming in such places, especially during hot weather when water temperatures rise and amoebas thrive. However, for those of you who love a good swim in the lake or a dip in the hot springs, don't fret. You can still enjoy these activities with some extra precautions. Using nose plugs or holding your nose shut while jumping into or submerging in warm, fresh water can help prevent water from entering your nasal passages, thus reducing the risk of infection. Another crucial aspect of prevention revolves around water sanitation. Whether it's your swimming pool, a water park, or even your home's water supply, ensuring proper sanitation can significantly reduce the presence of the brain-eating amoeba. This includes regular chlorination and filtration of water, as well as periodic testing for any harmful microorganisms. Remember, these amoebas can't infect you by drinking contaminated water. They can only do so when the water enters your nose. So, be extra cautious when participating in water-related activities, particularly in warm freshwater environments. In conclusion, while the brain-eating amoeba is indeed a terrifying parasite, we are not entirely helpless against it. By understanding how it spreads and taking the necessary preventive measures, we can significantly reduce the risk of infection. Remember, knowledge is power. By knowing about the brain-eating amoeba and how to prevent it, we can keep ourselves safe. We've journeyed through the world of the brain-eating amoeba, uncovering its horrifying reality. We began by introducing you to the brain-eating amoeba, a microscopic organism that, despite its small size, poses a terrifying threat to humans. This single-celled parasite, scientifically known as Naegleria fowleri, thrives in warm, fresh water. It's one of nature's most deadly creatures, not for its size or strength, but for its stealth and the devastation it leaves in its wake. We then delved into the deadly encounter. An innocent swim in warm, fresh water can turn into a nightmare if this amoeba gets into your system. It travels through the nose, up into the brain, where it begins its destructive process. The symptoms may start as common as a headache or fever, but can escalate quickly into more severe neurological problems. In the aftermath, we shared the chilling fact that the fatality rate from this amoeba's infection is incredibly high, making it one of the most lethal parasites known to man. It's a sobering reminder of just how vulnerable we can be to the unseen dangers in our environment. But it's not all doom and gloom. We also explored how prevention is better than cure. By avoiding swimming in warm fresh water or using nose plugs, you can significantly reduce the risk of encountering this deadly amoeba. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember to share this knowledge with others. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of the brain-eating amoeba.